You are watching World News Program coming to you live from Algiers with me, Mariam Zian. The headlines. President Tebboune holds regular interview with the national press, addresses national, regional, and international issues. And coming up, Algiers and Washington reviewed in New York the growing momentum in their bilateral relations. The Algerian foreign minister called for strengthening the partnership between the United Nations and the Arab League and for unifying efforts to accelerate peaceful settlements to the region's crises. Next, dozens of people were killed and wounded in new massacres carried out by Israeli forces against displaced and starving civilians in the Gaza Strip amid warnings that the shortage of medicines has surpassed catastrophic levels. And delegations from around the world left the hall ahead of Netanyahu's speech at the UN General Assembly. And Sudanese Prime Minister reaffirmed his rejection of any dictates that undermine Sudan's sovereignty. The Sudanese army said displaced people in Al-Fashir are being subjected to extortion and torture by the Rapid Support Forces and announced it had regained control of new strategic areas in Kordofan. Welcome to the details of your nightly program. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, granted on Friday a regular interview to representatives of the national press, broadcast on national television and radio channels. During this regular interview, the President of the Republic discussed several national, regional, and international issues. Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune said the resounding success of the 2025 Inter-African Trade Fair hosted in Algiers weeks ago was achieved thanks to the country's strong organizational capacity.
La première leçon qu'on peut tirer de la réussite de l'IATF, c'est les capacités organisationnelle de l'Algérie. Personne n'y croyait. Personne n'y croyait, tout le monde s'attendait à ce qu'il y ait un fiasco qui ferait leur bonheur. ثانيا كان جواب وطني من طرف كل الفاعلين الاقتصاديين وكل من يهمهم الأمر بما فيه المواطنين بالنسبة اللي أثاروا إشاعة أن الجزائر معزولة. أظهرت أن الجزائر هي القلب النابض لإفريقيا اقتصاديا وسياسيا. الشيء اللي توصلنا ليه صح هو الأحسن منذ 3 طبعات، هذه الطبعة الرابعة. أتمنى تواصل وأنا مبرمج إن شاء الله الأسبوع المقبل في أواخر الأسبوع المقبل ربما ولا بعد أيامات يكون لقاء مع كل متعاملين الاقتصاديين اللي يهمهم الأمر أننا باش ما نتوقفش في تعداد الصفقات والشيء اللي وصلنا ليه، ولكن باش ندخل مباشرة في التنفيذ والتطبيق. Il y va de la respectabilité de l'Algérie, il y va aussi de l'engagement de l'Algérie à faire évoluer cette économie interne à l'Afrique, ces relations internes qui viennent s'ajouter à la ZLECA, bien sûr.
Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune stressed that Algeria's current import policy is designed to balance meeting citizens' needs with safeguarding national sovereignty.
احنا عشنا مرحلة فوضى استيراد اللي يعني خلت الجزائر أضحوكة أمام العالم. ملايير الدولارات تخرج بدون ما يتحسن المستوى المعيشي في داخلنا، معناه كل شيء كان يبقى في الخارج. صرنا في سياسة جديدة اللي هي الاستيراد ضروري بسد الحاجيات تاع المواطن، الحاجيات التي لم تسد بالإنتاج الوطني. إذن مركزين على الجانبين، الاستيراد وترقية الإنتاج الوطني. والتوازن هذا مش سهل، التوازن مش سهل، لأن يتطلب مستوى تاع رقمنة دقيق جدا. ما وصلنالوش صراحة، نطمح باش نوصل له في من الأخير السنة إن شاء الله، أننا نعرف الواقع. ربما بالنسبة للاستيراد تاع بعض المواد بالقنطار، نعرف إذا كان محتاج نزيد نضيف ما نضيفش إلى آخره. وهي الوسيلة الوحيدة سي هابت أنك تنقذ بلادك، لأن الاستهلاك يمر، الحاجيات باقية، ولازم تخلي لك متسع من المال ومتسع من القرار لصون سيادتك، لأن أمورها كلها متعلقة بتلبية حاجيات المواطن وصيانة السيادة.
And on food security, the Algerian head of state said Algeria is moving steadily towards self-sufficiency through major agricultural projects. Let's take a listen.
رانا نقترب بخطة ثابتة، أولا بخطة عملاقة وبمشاريع اللي ما كانش يفكر فيها حتى واحد، لا مع دول أجنبية مثل إيطاليا ولا شقيقة مثل قطر ولا السعودية ولا دول أخرى. إمكانية حقيقية للوصول للاكتفاء الذاتي في بعض المواد. الاكتفاء الذاتي في التغذية ما كانش، الشيء اللي هو أساس التغذية نتاعنا اللي هو القمح. أنا قلت نلتزم باش نوصل للاكتفاء الذاتي، وأنا متحقق أن في نهاية الموسم، لأن الموسم مازال ما درناش الحصيلة كلها، إن شاء الله نوصل إلى نتيجة اللي كنا نطمح إليها.
President Abdelmajid Tebboune reaffirmed that the only solution to the Palestinian issue is an independent state on the 1967 borders, with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital, stressing Algeria's consistent advocacy and support for full UN membership.
أقول فقط أن من أول نضال تاع الجزائر وعلى أساس خلق الدولة الفلسطينية. شخصيا قلتها في الأمم المتحدة، قلتها في كل المناسبات، قلتها في اللقاءات الدولية في زياراتنا الرسمية وفي استقبالنا نسموه، ما فيش حل ما عدا الدولة الفلسطينية في حدودها 1967 والقدس شريف كعاصمة. قلنا كانوا الناس دايرين سخرية، قال عايشين في أوهام ورانا دخلنا في إسرائيل الكبرى ودخلنا في كذا. لا إسرائيل الكبرى ولا يحزنون.
Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune reaffirmed his country's unwavering support for the Palestinian cause, recalling Algeria's role in uniting Palestinian ranks and pushing for full UN membership.
فلسطين دولة احنا نظرنا من أنها، أنتم تشفوا كصحفيين، القمة العربية الأولى، القمة تاع 2022 اللي درناها، كان هذا هو أساسها. كان على أساس أننا نعاود ننظم صفوف الفلسطينية باش نخرج منظمة التحرير الفلسطينية قوية، ما نخرجش بفصيلة ولا اثنين ولا فهدي ولا فهدي. منظمة التحرير الفلسطينية كممثل شرعي ووحيد الفلسطيني. ما وصلناش للهدف، ما خلوناش. من بعد قلنا الأمم المتحدة، احنا اللي دخلنا القضية في الجمعية العامة، واللي صوتوا العام الماضي 143 دولة على أساس فلسطين كدولة كاملة الحقوق وعضوية كاملة العضوية في الأمم المتحدة. أنا حضرت مع السيد المحترم الأمين العام تاع الأمم المتحدة ومشينا فيها، كان فيه فيتو، مازال باقي هذا الفيتو هذا، ولكن اليوم الشيء اللي نتفائلوا فيه هو أن الأعضاء الدائمة بقى أن سول فيتو، ربعة خلاص اعترفوا بها.
Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf held a series of meetings on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly with his counterparts from Angola, Somalia, Benin, Uzbekistan, and Estonia. The discussions covered a wide range of issues, including coordination with the African Union, strengthening bilateral cooperation, developing diplomatic and regional ties, reinforcing the institutional framework of partnerships, and exploring prospects for economic and technological collaboration, alongside exchanges on current international and regional developments. And you have followed in our top stories. Algeria called for strengthening the partnership between the UN Security Council and the League of Arab States to promote peace and security in the Arab region, stressing that cooperation with regional organizations is essential to enhance the effectiveness of UN initiatives and collective security. Speaking at the interactive dialogue between the Security Council and the Arab League in New York, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf said the difficult circumstances in the Middle East demand closer coordination, particularly amid systematic aggression against the Palestinian cause and repeated violations of the sovereignty of neighboring states.
We all agree that cooperation with regional organizations is not merely a useful option, but rather an essential necessity. We all agree that such cooperation grants United Nations decisions and initiatives a greater deal of legitimacy, credibility, and effectiveness. We all agree that this cooperation directly contributes to strengthening multilateralism over unilateralism, while also supporting the system of collective security enshrined in Chapter 8 of the UN Charter. Cooperation between the United Nations and the League of Arab States is no longer a luxury, but an utmost necessity. We are firmly convinced that if the United Nations engages with the Arab League as a true and equal partner, it will gain an invaluable source of understanding of regional specificities, as well as the political networks and influence necessary to enhance its efforts in conflict prevention, crisis resolution, and the promotion of sustainable peace for all.
The Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, held talks Friday in New York with Mossad Boulos, senior advisor to the U.S. President for Africa, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly's high-level segment. According to a statement from the Algerian Foreign Ministry, the meeting provided an opportunity to review the growing momentum in Algerian-American relations, both in terms of the multifaceted strategic dialogue underway between the two countries and the rich economic partnership they are working to develop. The same source added that the talks also allowed both sides to continue consultations on key regional issues of mutual concern, particularly those that fall under the purview of the U.S. presidential advisor. And U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Lando praised the level reached by U.S.-Algerian relations, affirming that the two countries are entering a new era of cooperation. In a post on his official account on X following his meeting with Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf on the sideline of the UN General Assembly in New York, Lando stressed that under the leadership of Presidents Abdelmajid Tebboune and Donald Trump, the two countries are working jointly to strengthen regional security and establish lasting peace in the region, highlighting the importance of the growing trade partnership between Algiers and Washington.
I was pleased to meet with Algerian Foreign Minister Attaf to celebrate a new era of US-Algeria cooperation and the leadership of President Trump and President Tebboune. We are working together to advance regional security and promote lasting peace in the region. The growing US-Algeria commercial relationship is creating new economic opportunities that benefit both Americans and Algerians. Together we can create a better future for all the region's people.
And to developments in occupied Palestine, at least 55 Palestinians were killed and others wounded by Israeli gunfire and airstrikes targeting civilians across several areas of the Gaza Strip since early Friday morning. Medical sources in Gaza said that 55 Palestinians were killed by Israeli attacks, which struck displaced people and those waiting for aid in various parts of the Strip since dawn, including 11 among those waiting for assistance. The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza said that the medicine shortage has surpassed catastrophic levels, obstructing the delivery of emergency care. Acting Director General of Pharmacy Zeki Abu Qamar said that the number of zero-stock medicines and medical supplies in Gaza's besieged hospitals has reached unprecedented levels, adding that this shortage threatens all treatment services provided by the Health Ministry to patients and wounded. The international NGO Oxfam confirmed that 1,600 humanitarian and relief workers in Gaza have been killed since the start of Israel's massacres on October 7, 2023, and called for accountability for Israel's crimes. In a statement released Friday, the NGO said that the destruction this week of 3 offices belonging to Oxfam's partners in Gaza underscores the grave threat facing its teams on the ground. The statement condemned Israel's persistence in killing aid workers and targeting vital infrastructure such as hospitals and clinics, describing these acts as senseless and brutal. Most delegations participating in the 80th UN General Assembly session walked out moments before the so-called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took the podium. Videos showed many delegations rebuking Netanyahu's remarks, holding him responsible for the genocide in Gaza, while the walkout itself drew loud applause. Moving on to Sudan now, the government stressed that it would not accept any dictates that undermine the country's sovereignty, national security, or ownership of its peace process. Sudanese Prime Minister Kamal Idris told the UN General Assembly that the government of hope remains committed to achieving victory and restoring the dignity and pride of the Sudanese people. He added that Sudan will keep its doors open to the United Nations and regional international organizations, calling on the international community to support the choices of the Sudanese people and their civilian government and to back African solutions to conflicts based on national will and ownership without guardianship.
Preserving the sovereignty of the state and its established national institutions is a top priority and an existential issue of the Sudanese people. Our doors will remain open to the United Nations and international institutions, and we call on the international community to support the choices of the Sudanese people and their civilian government, and to back African solutions to conflicts through national will and ownership without guardianship.
The Sudanese army said that rapid support forces intercepted several displaced families on their way to Sheikh Qurani in Al-Fashir, subjecting many to extortion and physical torture. In remarks to Algeria-24, Asya Al-Khalifa, spokesperson for the 6th Infantry Division in Al-Fashir, said the division command and the joint forces repelled a heavy RSF attack on the city from 2 directions, inflicting what she described as heavy losses, including dozens of dead, among them senior commanders.
The command of the 6th Infantry Division, in coordination with the Joint Force, successfully repelled a major attack launched by the terrorist militia on the city of Al-Fashir from 2 axes. The assault involved infantry and armed pickups and was accompanied by their media teams attempting to film the operation. Our forces inflicted heavy losses in both personnel and equipment, with hundreds killed, including senior commanders. We call on our citizens to remain inside the city of El Fasher today, as several youths and families heading toward Hila El Sheikh and Hila Qarni were intercepted, subjected to extortion, and physically abused.
The Sudanese army announced it had regained full control of new strategic areas in North Kordofan, confirming that its leadership had reinforced defenses and set up strongholds to secure the area and its surroundings. Military sources told Al-24 News on Friday that fierce clashes erupted again between Sudanese forces and RSF troops in North Kordofan, resulting in the army's full recapture of the strategic axes of Al-Iyara, Al-Khoui, and Sumayya, west of Al-Ubaid, the capital of North Kordofan state. And in other news, U.S. President Donald Trump expressed his dissatisfaction with Russian actions in Ukraine, stressing that Kiev has a real opportunity to reclaim territory seized by Russian forces. During his meeting with reporters in the Oval Office, Trump explained that he is closely monitoring Russian behavior and the actions Moscow is taking in the ongoing conflict, noting that Russia's actions greatly displease him. Separately, Trump revealed his conversations with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, expressing his belief that Ankara will agree to his request to halt purchases of Russian oil.
Yeah, they have a shot at it because Russia.
What prompted you to change your thoughts on
Well, because I've been watching the way what Russia's been doing. I'm very dissatisfied with what Russia's doing and what President Putin is doing. I haven't liked it at all. He's killing people for no reason whatsoever, and they are doing very poorly considering they have put it all out on the line. Their economy is going to hell. They're bombing the hell out of everything, and they're picking up a very little territory, if any. In fact, they're losing some territory. So I think it's been very bad for the reputation of Russia. This war should have been over. If this were our war, we would have had it over in 1 week.
Moscow considered Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's threat to target the Kremlin during a television interview irresponsible. During the daily press briefing, Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov asserted on Friday that the Ukrainian president was making random threats that, in his words, lacked responsibility. In his remarks on Thursday, Zelensky had called on Kremlin officials to locate the nearest shelters if Russia did not stop its war against his country. And the French political scene was shaken by the conviction of former President Nicolas Sarkozy in a criminal conspiracy case shortly after the fall of far-right leader Marine Le Pen, who was sentenced to prison and declared ineligible for misappropriating European Parliament funds. These back-to-back convictions have raised questions among the French public about the overall state of political practices in the country. Marwa Balaiwar has the full story.
France is reeling from what observers are calling one of the biggest political scandals of the Fifth Republic. Former President Nicolas Sarkozy has been convicted of receiving illegal foreign funds to bankroll his 2007 election campaign, a ruling that marks the dramatic fall of a man once seen as a pillar of the French right and a key architect of Élysée politics for over a decade. But Sarkozy is not alone. 11 figures from his inner circle, including 3 former ministers, have also been convicted in the same corruption case. The verdict comes on the heel of another blow to the far right, with Marine Le Pen recently found guilty of misappropriating European Parliament funds. Together, the cases paint a picture of a political class mired in financial scandals and moral decay.
This conviction makes me regretful for politics in general and for the transparency of elections. I also think of the voters, because in a way, they were deceived as well. If all this had been known beforehand, would Nicolas Sarkozy have ever been sworn in before his electorate?
Right-wing media outlets known for their nationalist and anti-immigrant rhetoric have rushed to cast doubt on the French judiciary, accusing it of bias. Analysts, however, say the repeated scandals from embezzlement to illicit financing expose the hypocrisy of a far-right that has long scapegoated immigrants while hiding its own corruption. The French press described Sarkozy's downfall as nothing short of a political earthquake. Combined with Le Pen's conviction and the tainted record of other far-right leaders, it signals a profound crisis for a movement already struggling to hold onto credibility with the French electorate.
US President Donald Trump said Friday that he may allow Turkey to purchase F-35 fighter jets, explaining that the White House could authorize it, but not at this time. Trump added that he will also discuss with Erdogan the issue of F-16 aircraft as well as custom tariffs, which he described as part of ongoing talks to expand trade relations between the two countries. He emphasized that Washington and Ankara are working to shape major trade deals that will benefit the two parties.
We're going to be discussing the Patriot system, which is the best system. We'll discuss that. We're going to discuss the F-35. We'll be discussing all of the things that you know about and that some of that you mentioned. And I think he'll be successful with buying the things he'd like to buy.
What concrete steps can you take?
Well, we'll have to see. We haven't even started yet. But I know he wants the F-35. And he's wanted that, and we're talking about that very seriously. And the F-16, we're in great shape. Certain other things he needed, as you know, and I'm going to see to it that we get that to him. He needs certain things, and we need certain things. And we're going to come to a conclusion. You'll know by the end of the day.
Algeria's Sonatrach Energy Group signed 2 service contracts with a consortium of Chinese companies, Kayak, the China National Aerotechnology International Engineering Cooperation, the SLBI, the Sino Limited Pipeline Inspection Technology Company. The contracts cover inspection and testing operations using tool-equipped scrappers for 5 gas pipelines with a total length of 3,576 kilometers, including 2 pipelines supplying international customers.
عقد مهم جدا يسمح لنا.
This is a very important contract which allows us to ensure and guarantees the safety of the channels that transport the produced engines. We have transport networks under the supervision of hydrocarbons transport authorities, covering engines over 22,000 kilometers. And this requires monitoring and inspection. Inspection is carried out with advanced technology over 3,500 kilometers, giving us the opportunity to carry out interventions or repair work at the right time.
في الوقت المناسب.
And for his part, Gao Yushan, general manager of China's Kayak company, expressed appreciation for the confidence shown by Sonatrach, which culminated in the signing of 2 major contracts for the inspection and monitoring of gas pipelines.
We value the trust granted to us by the Algerian Sonatrach Group. The cooperation program between us carried a rich agenda, which reflects the depth of trust, cooperation, and support between the two companies. We thank the group for this collaboration, which has resulted in the signing of these 2 contracts.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight's program. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.